You're watching CCN, Clarksville Community Network. Produced by Goodwin Productions. Powered by CDE Lightband.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Coach's Corner. This is episode 4. Thank you for joining CCN Network. Coaches, Coach G, Coach P, Northwest, and
West Creek.
Rossview, Coach Hood here. Listen, the other day, guys, something new is out. We've been talking about 7-on-7 before we come on camera. We're talking about spring ball, but I know right now the big thing is ladies. Our ladies are playing some football. Mm-hmm. Hey, so that's a little bit of news. So that's new for us. So it's flag football. So I got to go watch Northwest play Rossview. So unfortunately, Northwest beat us. But it was interesting to see the girls play. And, you know, I'm going to be honest, that's the first flag football game I've ever seen. Now, it sounds crazy, but my world has not been in flag and those type things. So my world is involved in teaching and coaching, and that's my world that I do. So getting outside, that was really cool to see our girls play. So have you seen any 7-on-7 at your place, Coach?
I saw just an inter-squad scrimmage between the girls. Coach Sonia Franklin, she's doing a good job with those girls, and I mean there's an abundance of talent there too. I mean girls sports at Northwest has always been pretty good, pretty solid, and making pushes to win championships as far as region titles and things like that. And it was a really good experience. I mean, prior military, we just do it for fun, but right. To see it structured and rules and the straight up competition, it's an amazing deal. And there are some very talented young ladies on that roster over there too.
Well, now when I was watching Northwest play, now coaches will understand this, especially the older coaches like me, because you know I'm 91. So now listen. So I saw the 7-on-7, the flag football for the girls. It's basically like 7-on-7. So for the older coaches, I saw Northwest run a little spin series. If you go, if you go back, little spin series sweep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Saw a little back shoulder throw. Saw a little back shoulder throw from the Northwest gang. Now, our offense was more conventional. We had some run plays, some serious just straight jet sweeps, and we had some good passing plays. But those are a couple things that caught my eye was the old spin series. Now, that's going back in some time there.
Oh, yeah.
Off of the Buck series. That's the Bucks, the Buck sweep and the wing tees type stuff. So, Coach, have you seen anybody have you seen the girls practice or play? Are they talking about it in your school?
Yeah, so Coach King, Coach Fetterman, and Coach Lejeune are doing a great job at our place.
Okay, now, are they on your staff or are they just?
Oh, no. They are their own staff. Okay. They're their own flag football staff. Okay. We're just so busy with our end, you know. But we actually had a first round, or not maybe first round, but the first week was a bye. Okay. And then we play, I want to say Northeast tomorrow. So that's always going to be a competitive game. It's a big rivalry game. Anytime those two schools come together, there's always something. The games are always great. And so they play tomorrow. The coaches have done a great job. Apparently, the girls have been absolutely competitive during practice. And you know, we were speaking to one of your Rossview flag football girls beforehand, and she was talking about how just aggressive it's been. Yeah. How the girls have needed to be pulled back a little bit with the aggressiveness. Yes. Because they are absolutely out there laying it on the line, giving it all they got. And you know, sometimes I think they forget that you gotta get the flag. You can't wrap up and roll like we teach them. So.
Well, now I heard one girl say yesterday in school that it was really rough. Like they're actually they're jacking each other up, and she didn't think that you could do that. She got a penalty, and so it's funny to see them, actually play the game of football, and they looked like they really had a lot of fun with it. Yeah. The girls are very talkative in school. It's good. It's good energy for the school. It's good energy for the girls because if you're not playing softball, that would give you something to do. And it looked like Northwest and Rossview had quite a few participants, a lot of girls playing, so that was good. The field's a little shorter. Mm-hmm. It's a little narrow. It's not quite as wide. It's sort of like some passing league rules. You've got like 4 downs to get like 20 or something like that.
Absolutely.
So it's really neat to see that.
And I think the cool thing is it's all sponsored by the Tennessee Titans.
Right.
It is.
So the uniforms were purchased by the Titans. I believe the balls and the flags, and pretty much everything you need to do outside of the paint was sponsored by the Tennessee Titans.
So the next thing we need to get sponsored by the Titans, like they did in Metro, is sponsoring our
Turf
fields.
field.
What is it, Coach?
Turf field.
What is it,
Yes,
Coach?
turf fields.
That's where we're going. So, I mean, you're going to talk about saving money and seed and mowing and gas. So, I know Metro is up for that.
Yep.
The Titans are paying a portion of that.
Yep.
And then the Metro school system is pitching in and paying some of that. So, I know with our huge budget we have here at Montgomery County, it's probably millions and millions and millions. I'm sure $1 million a year for each school would be a great proposition
It'd go a long
to
way.
incorporate into our budget in the future. So we're going to throw that out there at the people on the board in our community, that I think if we're not doing that, which we are not, that we're way behind the times. When I go see other people, when I go see other schools, I was in, my son played soccer this weekend. Dylan played soccer. Our baseball team was in Memphis, also down there playing soccer. Baseball had some turf areas. Football, all the football fields that I went to this week had turf fields. Soccer games could be played on it. The rain, the weather didn't affect anything. So, and I know that every new school in the Nashville area, they all have turf.
Yep.
That's where you're going. When you're building new places, that's what they're doing. They're putting turf in. I think it's super smart. And I think with our budget, we could throw that in. So, hey, listen, I tell people all the time, there is academic money for students, right? If you make great grades, you got a good GPA, your class schedule, you take the ACT, you make a good score, you can get money for that. Also, you get money for scholarships in football. There are full scholarships where you walk around, you get everything paid for, your food, your board, everything. And there's also academic money and other ways that they give you money that can offset the cost of your college. So I think all those things being said, football, soccer, and sports is a huge to this area. And I think that we're moving in that direction, but I still think our county is behind the times in moving where we need to be. I think the middle school football is coming along.
Absolutely.
We're 30 years behind.
Yep.
That's just where it is. That's just an honest opinion. It is my opinion, but I don't think many people are going to disagree with that.
No.
I think that's going to be huge for us in the future. I know they've had basketball forever. They don't have baseball in the middle school, I don't think.
No.
Volleyball is new.
Oh, they do.
Track is new.
Well, I know there might be travel teams.
It's a travel
I
team.
want to
Right.
specifically
It's not
say.
sponsored by the county. So I think they're moving in the right direction in a lot of sports. And getting football is huge, but I think turf is the way to go. It's going to make everything so much easier. And I can say for us that we had junior pro games. We had middle school playing on Thursdays and Saturdays. And then our field we played on Fridays, and our field was a wreck.
Yeah.
Our field is it's the worst looking field that we've ever had since I've been there. It's overused, it's abused, our water system is broke, so that didn't help anything. You know, in the summertime you need hot weather, Bermuda grows, and you need water and sun. That grass will grow like crazy. So we had a problem with that this year and the usage. So, Coach, would you like to have some turf on your field over there? I mean, would you appreciate that?
Oh yeah, I think just the longevity of it, with having band and 7-on-7, and I feel like you could bring a lot more events here. A lot of people don't know this, but like Clarksville is like a big hub for AAU basketball. And just imagine if you gave some of these 7-on-7 leagues that are travel teams and things of that nature, you wouldn't have to go to Father Ryan every Saturday to go play, because we would have 7 turf fields here where you could host different events. You could host your own 7-on-7. You could host combines. You could do things with the other schools to get incorporated. And so I think not only does it help the teams in the building, but it can help the teams in the building do fundraising opportunities and things like that to kind of better their program, develop kids more. Because I see all the time, you see on social media, down at Cleveland High School, they're up at 6 a.m., running around doing different drills and things like that.
And they're on grass or turf at 6 a.m.
And they're on turf.
Of course they are.
And it helps because it saves so much time. You don't have to paint the field. The lines are already there. It's a crisp look, so you're never having to worry about divots and things like that where you have to go back and patch it up. So, I think anytime I think we're definitely like moving in the right direction, but I think, anytime you can improve on something, I think turf would be a big benefit to us.
What about your idea about the turf, Coach?
I also agree in the sense of, we all look at how does it benefit not only the kids but our schools and our community. Like you were saying, we have many 7-on-7 travel teams. We got the Clarksville Screaming Eagles. We have flag football leagues for young kids. We have things like that where, if they're turf fields, we're not trying to decide, hey, is that too much on our grass? Is it too much? When we also have in-school things to deal with as well. Like you said, soccer, now flag football practices that's coming up in spring ball, girls soccer in the fall, things like that. Those are very, very important, of course, to our schools. So if we get things where we can interact in the community through having turf fields, that brings more revenue to our schools, and that's very important because it makes our principals and our superintendents smile, So it would be great. It would be really, really, really great for us to have turf in this area. And the final thing I'll speak on that as well is the over. When we have that 1 week, there's always some time where it's just nasty rain down in the fall, and then you got a game a day later or 2 days later. And at Northwest, you're going to be skating, man. It's mud bowl over there when it starts getting into certain areas, because for some reason, after it rains, we're always on the same hash, on the same side of the field every single time, and just messing it up every time. So I know those drive ADs and in our maintenance crew nuts. So
well,
yes.
I know one thing. I think when you talk about Montgomery County and you talk about our school system, I think the number one thing that we think about is investing in kids.
Yes.
And I think if you're going to talk about academics in the classroom, which we do a good job of that, I think you've got to relate that to athletics, and you got to invest in kids. And I think if you're putting turf fields down, you're investing in almost every kid that's in that school, especially the student athletes. And it just a huge factor. And talking about fields, so I remember back back in 1921 when I was coaching at Central. Okay, we was coaching. So Coach Ray was the head coach, and Coach Ray said, hey, he said, Coach Hood, it's raining, it's been monsooning all day long. We're playing Marshall County. I think it's number one in the state at the time, very good football team. He said, you think we should cancel it? I said, no, Coach, this is a great opportunity tonight. They're fast, they're speedy, we're more physical, we're slower paced. This will be a great opportunity to knock them off tonight. So we went out there. Now they beat us 14-7. And the ball played between the 40 and the 40. And this is a true story. In all of my years, since 21, all of my years of coaching, that no one has ever punted on third down. They punted on third down because the ball it's a mud hole. I mean, it was a pig pen.
Wow.
And they punted the ball just to get rid of it.
Wow.
I mean, really, it was just like, you take it.
They playing sound defense.
Yes, they just kicked it over. I don't even know how they kicked it. They kicked it and said, you take the ball, because that's how bad that mud. It was just a mud game. And our quarterback, Josh had, the next day he had a bacterial infection in his mouth. He had some kind of infection because the mud got in his mouth, somehow through his mouthpiece, and that caused somehow an infection. So it's weird how things come about, but that relates back to if we had turf, hey, we just keep playing. So that's our pitch for our kids, our community, for Clarksville Montgomery County School System. I think that's definitely something we got to look into for the future. John Miller's done a fantastic job moving things in the right direction. I know there's people supporting that. There's lots of people in our community that support that. I know Austin Peay's had turf since at least probably 80, 82, something like that. They've had turf replaced at least twice.
Yes.
In that, 40-year span or so?
Yeah.
So I think that's the way to move, and I think that would benefit everyone. All right, welcome back, guys. Listen, segment 2 today, episode 4, we're going to talk about some passing, maybe some defense, and so we're always looking at how you score, right? Offenses want to score. Nowadays, it's so much more explosive than it's ever been because, back when I played in 21, so we had just, run the ball, some jump. Remember, hey, back in the day, guys, the old jump pass. If you go back into that. Okay, so Coach Gallowitz, He's going to talk about some RPOs. He's going to talk about formations. There's thousands of things we could spin, but he's going to first talk about the RPO and really what does it stand for? What is it? How do you do it? How do you read people? So, Coach G, take it away.
All right. So basically when we're looking at the offense, right, and I'm a defensive coach, so I spend pretty much a lot of my time breaking down offensive films to see what offensive coordinators are going to try to throw at us. So in my weekly game plan, usually I'll start on Saturday morning, and I'll go through and I'll figure out what their best formations are that they come out of. And then what I'll do is I'll go through each one of those formations after I've broken it down, and then I'll figure out, okay, what certain plays do they like out of these particular formations, and then break those down. And basically I'm just trying to block off enough information to kind of get a good idea of what we're going to see that week, and then try to prepare our kids.
Now, hold on, Coach. If the week we play each other, if you just send that to me on Tuesday, you send it to me on Tuesday, let me evaluate it, make sure you got that correct. Okay, all right, and then I'll go from there. All right, Coach.
Yeah, I may call it one thing, you may call it another, so I would hate for you to get confused that week and then get messed up. But a really popular thing that kind of took off is called the RPO, which stands for run pass option. So that gives the quarterback two options, and one option is going to obviously be the run, and then the second option is going to be the pass. So I'm going to kind of draw up a popular play that we've ran at the school I'm at now and previous schools I've been at. So let's see.
So like the Q stands for the quarterback, the F would be the running back. So you're labeling people. You've got people with Z's, receiver, and so that's how you label your guys.
Correct.
Okay.
And so basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to see what kind of defense they're going to line up to us. And a real popular defense that we see, especially in Clarksville and in Nashville and some of those schools, is the 3-4 defense, which means that there's 3 down linemen. So there's usually a 0, which is a nose, and then there's 2 tackles. And then people sometimes shade, which means that they're not head up. They're standing off onto one of the shoulders of the offensive tackles.
So you mean you may see a defense of 3-4 one week, but the next 3-4 may not be like the one you saw the week before, but it's a 3-4 defense.
Correct.
Okay, you move
correct.
on.
And so sometimes, especially with high school football, I think they try to keep it as simple as possible. So it's not like the NFL or the college level where you're seeing different types of fronts and different types of shades and things like that. Usually it's pretty basic. And then you have the 4 overhang players. So you have 2 inside backers. So you could put your Sam here, your Mike, your Will.
Now, if you watch TV and you remember the word Omaha, that has nothing to do with anything.
Not at all.
No, Peyton Manning, it had nothing to do with it. And it was just a check that he set the line of scrimmage, and Omaha has nothing to do with this play, unless you're in that state somewhere. So we'll get.
All right. So basically, what you're going to look at is generally you're trying to figure out, okay, who are the important people that you are trying to aim to kind of take advantage of. So you're always finding one player, and you want to make that player wrong. So whatever he does, make him wrong, and then the quarterback's going to make us right. So it does give your kids a lot of responsibility, but you really only give them 2 options. So if we were looking at this play here, and let's say that this side is going to be the boundary, which is we put every time the ball is basically caught or ran, they place it on the closest hash. So you'll see the ball move from hash to hash, and that's where they set it. So in this case, let's say that this is the boundary. We're going to pick on this kid here, okay? And what we like to do is simply because the boundary is closer, it's usually a shorter throw for the quarterback. So what we're going to do here is we're going to run a play inside zone. I guess I could spell it out.
So you're telling us that the linemen are thinking the run play, the R part of the RPO is run, and that's your play. It's an inside zone run play.
Correct. And what happens is a lot of times teams get we get some really excited offensive linemen who will go upfield, and if you get past 3 yards, that becomes an illegal man downfield, right? So that becomes kind of then that's a penalty. So you want to block it as a run because generally you're not really sending a whole lot of guys, up to back. You kind of have to teach it a little different. You have to teach them to basically hold their position rather than go up to the middle linebackers or anything like that.
So if it's a straight run play, you probably coach it a little bit different.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So, and that's why zone kind of works, because zone, what you're trying to get is you're trying to get a double team to backer, double, and then kind of like a kick, or not a kick, but just kind of a seal off. And then you're going to run inside zone. So how we teach it is a step, and they're trying to press to the front side gap. So it'll be this gap here. And then what they can do is they have front side to backside A, or making A. Then while the quarterback is reading this, he's watching what this guy does. So as this guy goes up to block, this guy is going to run behind the line of scrimmage. All right, and that's not a very good line, but you can kind of get the idea. All right, and he's going to run behind the blocking wide receiver. All right, and what we're trying to do is the quarterback is looking at that outside linebacker. We call it the bullet. And basically, if he comes down for run support, throw the bubble. If he decides to go down onto the bubble, give zone. And so that's kind of who we pick on when we do things like this, simply because.
So, Coach, what about your play side receivers? So if these guys are doing the bubble or an RPO, they're running the inside run play. So what are the B and the Z in your formation doing on that play?
Perfect. We like to do this. We like to have two verticals. Run, and all we're trying to do, and sometimes we'll pop some of our faster kids out there. Maybe that it's our number 2 and number 3 wide receiver, because we're just trying to make these two players as tired as possible. So in high school football, generally, we don't have a huge depth chart like you would see in the NFL or in the college level. We have basically who we got. And we want to try to wear these two guys out as much as possible. And so if we know there's no chance of them getting the ball, we'll go ahead and just run everyone upfield, and we'll just try to wear these two out and then try to go after them the next play. And so we'll basically kind of set this play up first. We'll run inside zone, and we're trying to influence the kid to kind of, all right, I've seen this play 4 or 5 times. I'm going to come down and help. And then once we do, we're just going to throw the bubble out here. And as long as this X wide receiver does a really good job of stock blocking, where he's up there and he's blocking his butt off, usually we can get a couple yards on that, and it becomes very successful. You could do it the opposite way. Sometimes we've done it like this. You really wouldn't pair this together, but where he becomes the that wouldn't work. We've done it the opposite way, where we've done maybe some slants, where we're running a high angle slant, and then we're running a low angle slant, and then we let him pick. All right, if he drops and kind of jumps on this low angle slant, right, then we want to throw it. I drew that wrong. Sorry. Here and then here. If we're trying to run basically a high angle slant, we want him. If he drops with it, we'll throw it under him to underneath. All right, if he sits on it, then we'll throw it right behind his head. And so we'll add different passing concepts to the same exact play, and it becomes easy because the offensive linemen don't have to learn a new play, a run play. The wide receivers are running their similar routes. We're just marrying them together. And so that's how we kind of do a few RPOs out of our system.
Now, Coach, if you didn't notice, he's got a great-looking hat on. These guys have got some good-looking hats on today. But now, listen, so, Coach, so what happens when this guy comes down and this guy's open on the bubble like the first play and the quarterback hands the ball off? Do you throw that good-looking hat down and do you correct him? Do you get a little upset with that?
Not really. Generally, that's the safest option, is to hand the ball off. And if we're never going to yell at the quarterback for handing the ball off to the running back, because they're usually giving it to one of our best players. Now, if this guy does jump that route and he throws it, I mean, that's when we do have to coach them up pretty well, because again, he is going to make us right, but if he's making himself wrong, then that puts us in jeopardy of an interception, because really 3 things can happen on a pass. They can catch it, they can drop it, or it can get intercepted. When you give it to a running back, really only 2 things can happen. He can fall forward for a yard, or he can fumble it, and usually I want to go with percentages and usually get
two
a
of the
route.
3 are bad on the pass.
Mm-hmm.
But so you're talking about RPOs, Coach. So I know that at the college level, and I've spoke with Austin Peay coaches many times, and at their level, and at the high school level. Okay, the thing with RPOs is, again, it's a run-pass option. Now, Coach G is reading this guy, but we can also read the tackle. We can also read the inside linebacker. So you can have tag calls. You can read the safety. So you can have tag calls where when you tag it with a certain word, okay, then you can read someone different. So if they're giving you fits, so if this guy's inside shade instead of head up, if he's inside shade, you can tag him, and you can actually read him and not block him. So you don't block the guy, but you're reading. And again, depending on what he does, then you can either pull the ball, run the ball, throw the ball. So there's lots of different RPO variations. Out of this formation is one. There's multiple formations, correct?
Yep.
And in multiple ways that you can read people out of different run plays. So this is the inside zone, which is still very popular in college and high school. But there's many, many other plays that people's branching out to. And I think the biggest thing about football, Coach P, is, it used to be the inside-outside zone, and it was the old bubble screen. That's sort of like the old RPO type thing. Now they're reading everything.
Yes, for especially an RPO game, it's very difficult to defend at times if you don't have the right kind of personnel out there. I think 3-4 is very important, but you got to have the right kind of guy that lines up at that bullet spot that Coach is talking about. And more so in defending that RPO right here, your best bet is, number one, if you can get a legit jam off the line. If you want to move him up and jam, you can. Or if you want to shift him out a little bit, and this is predicated on, are you defending that run zone good the whole night? If you're getting stops 1-2 yards, 3-4 yards at most, then the RPO, you blow that up because now you know your guys up front can defend that inside zone. The most important thing is what we try to do, what a lot of schools try to do is disguise coverage, right? So you have your two safeties up top, right? And you want to try to get this safety involved in the party. If you notice all night, hey, those are short RPO reads, let's rock those. We can move it to a single high safety and get that
So drop maybe somebody spinning down and safety's rolling over. So different coverages Coach is talking about. Again, there's multiple defenses that people run, and we might have 5 games and see 5 different defenses or 5 different variations. So that's the thing, that you have calls, you have tag words, things that you have to adjust.
And that's what Coach Gallowitz was talking about is, they pick on that one safety, but you got to be able to help that guy. You got to be able to bring somebody else to the party so you can eliminate that sort of RPO from him. So we disguise coverage and we have those 2 safeties up top, but right there during the cadence, which is the call of the quarterback that, he may have to say certain calls. We say Ron 80, or your Omaha talk that we talked earlier. So during those points, that's ideally when you want your defense to shift to confuse that offense, because disguising and confusing the quarterback along with pressure on the quarterback is a forefront of a very successful defensive scheme if you can get it executed. Because
so Coach, just draw that linebacker up there blitzing and the safety rolling down and one rolling to the middle. Just an easy little blitz. So Coach is just talking about spinning, disguising your 2 high safeties. So it could be bullet could be bullet can be blitzing.
Okay.
And then the safety rolled to the middle, and then you'd have your safety coming down and replacing him playing that void.
And you don't want that safety to get too wide. You want him to be in what we call is the RPO lane. You want him to be right there in that RPO lane, because if it's bubble, he has a perfect angle to stop, and you, of course, expect that corner to get off blocks. That's where you throw your hat, Coach, is if that corner can't get off that block. But you want that safety to come down. Now he has a good angle on tackling, which we always teach. Hey, come down the alley, make good sound tackles. Or if he tries to throw it in that area where that bullet is sitting, where he has that combination route, now he comes straight down and he can blow up the play, make the interception, or at worst, make the tackle.
So let me ask you this. So when you're doing this, and I'll kind of explain this too, you would be rolling to cover 3, correct?
Yes.
So if what cover 3 means is you're taking up a third of the field.
Even though the weakness is the seams,
Sure.
the weakness is the seams, you still have that. You still want to have that safety right there blowing up the RPO spot. Yes.
So that's the area that those guys are responsible for on pass. If they see pass, that's their responsibility. It's not on run. If it's run, they're playing run. They're downhill players, fitting. They all have their fits and inside out fits, outside in fits, where they're fitting in the scheme of things. And then if it's run pass, they've got zones.
And the guys in the middle, we'll make sure your B's, your W, your M, and even your S, they have run reads first. Mm-hmm. That's what you have. You have to establish your steps for run reads first, because if not, if you just jump out there, now that zone read goes for 15, 12, and then it's going to be a rough night all night.
Yeah. And that's the important part is just the film breakdown is you're trying to figure out, okay, what area can we attack that they are vulnerable in?
Or a player, right? I mean,
or a player.
Maybe
it could be a player.
Like when you were talking about like pressing the corner, which means that this corner here would come down on this wide receiver. Well, what I would do is we're going to still run that bubble play, and we're going to hope that this kid comes down. So let's say that you did press him, right? And that generally gives the corner an advantage to hit this bubble. And then what we're going to do is this kid's going to touch him and then get off to his back inside, and we're hoping that the safety, right, is either playing in the middle of the field or he's rolling down because of this guy running the bubble. And then we're going to try to hit him on his backside shoulder because he pressed him.
Exactly.
And so then we take advantage of his alignment, and then we take advantage of our athleticism that we had a matchup with, not so much against Northwest, but, other schools where we have that matchup at these positions, and we say, okay, we know that this kid is probably faster than that kid. If you're going to jam us, that's perfect. But it does create a harder throw because in high school, generally what we're trying to do is we're trying to put our best athlete at quarterback because they get to touch the ball every play. And then you would put your second best athlete at running back because they're going to touch the ball a whole lot. And then your third and fourth are going to be usually tighter to the formation because these are easier throws for the kids.
Mm-hmm. Well, Coach, Coach just enlightened me on something because I've been wrong my whole life because I thought you put your best athlete at center because he touches the ball first. And then the quarterback would be the second because wouldn't he touch the ball? Have I been wrong all these years, Coach?
I would think your center would have to be, number one, of course he's got to be physical, but he's got to be intelligent. You have to have a little form of intelligence because it may be a different lineman that's a leader on that line, but your center creates it's the catalyst for your whole offensive line, right? He knows adjustments, everything like that. I went to a clinic in Charlotte, and there's a coach out of Stillwater, Oklahoma, Stillwater High School, and that's his whole thing. He doesn't even line up on the line of scrimmage. He stays 3 yards back, stands up, and the thing with him is the first thing that nose does, whether his hand's in the dirt or he's 3 yards back, hit the freaking center. Right. Hit the center, blow that up, because now he's seeing that all night. He's going to make more mistakes, or he's going to maybe call the wrong checks. Right. And that's all they did was just constantly up the A-gap, hitting the center, blowing the center up. And teams didn't allow, but I think he said he allowed only like 12.7 yards a series. Like they didn't have many big plays. They had 2 big plays the whole season.
I think the biggest thing that you see in high school and colleges, and it's because we talk every week something's different, right?
Yes, for sure.
So I have seen these TNT. I've seen them slant one way. Mm-hmm. I have seen them shift and move, which confuses the offense. Coach talks about them lining up off the ball on the snap, run. I have seen them run in circles.
Yes.
Now listen, this is crazy. Run in circles, and when the ball is snapped, they fly at the line of scrimmage. Why? To confuse people. You don't know where they're lined up. You can't make calls, right? We're all coaches that we want to see people lined up in the spot. Okay, Coach Patterson at Fort Campbell, when we coached together, that cat, if you ever blitzed in practice, he would chew you out because he wants those guys in a spot.
Wow.
And stay right there, and this is how we're going to block them. And if we ever played anybody that did a lot of, especially back in that day, a lot of metro schools would be doing anything, the flavor of the week. He would be all confused, man. They'd get really mad. But it's things that the defense can move. You see some crazy things from week to week. And it's interesting that as you're scheming and you're planning that you got to account for certain things that you see that week. So I think here you're seeing a spread offense basically versus the 3-4 defense and many options and variations off of that. Now, reminder, whoever has
the pin last wins.
Yeah, so I mean, if I'm up here drawing, man, I'm going to whip you.
Yeah.
Because you take into consideration when you draw up plays as we scheme, it looks good on Saturday and Sunday on the board. But it only takes 1 out of 11 guys to screw up and the play looks terrible.
Yep.
You can have 10 guys that execute and it's beautiful. One guy screws up and the whole play looks like you've never practiced before. And you run the same play a series later, everybody blocks it great, same play, looks beautiful. So that pin looks good when we're drawing and marking, but the people blocking and tackling, it always comes down to blocking and tackling.
Yeah, and I think the big saying that everybody always says is it's not about, the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and Joes.
Makes
and
a
so
difference.
Yes.
It does make a difference when you have a really talented kid, and that's the big thing is you just want to try to find ways to highlight those certain kids. But you guys had a really good trick play against us. Do you want to kind of maybe draw that up and kind of and walk us through how you could execute that?
I'll give you a rough drawing.
Give me an idea.
Hey, well, before you erase that, I got to take a picture of it. Because I know West Creek runs this.
Yeah. That ain't nothing you can't see on film.
By the way, I was very generic with my 3-4 explanation because we blitz out of our minds. So we're trying to send 4, 5, 6. You know, that plays a huge role.
Play.
Give us a good trick play.
I'm going to give you something, some variation of what we did.
A little Philly special maybe, you know what I mean?
We don't want those old World War II trick plays either, man. Make it a little modern, We'll
run the it's just basically it's an old jet sweep with a halfback pass.
Nice.
The one that you talked about.
Nice.
It'll be some variation of that. Check that out.
How do you go? Is it based off the film that you watch where you go about saying, hey, we run this jet sweep halfback pass, it's probably going to work?
I think it's a good point. So sometimes yes, and sometimes absolutely not. No, you just run a trick play because it's the right time. You got to do something, right?
That's true.
And I think sometimes is it the right moment? If it's 3rd and 10, do I want to run a halfback pass? Probably not. Probably not. Is it 3rd and 1? Hey, now that jet's coming. It's probably not going to throw the ball. So I can use Lipscomb years ago. They run a play similar to this. They ran the ball all the way to the sideline. And our corner stayed with him and stayed with him and stayed with him. And all the way to the sideline. And he pulls it up right in front of us and throws it for an easy 50-yard touchdown pass.
Wow.
But, that cat ran the ball all the way to the sideline. He didn't run it 5 or 6 yards. It was very impressive. Let's go Y, Z, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's change something up here. Let's do something different. All right, so first of all, I'm counting because you have to have 11 players on the field. There's many different variations of running something. And the defensive play, I'm not really going to put a defensive in. Let's just say they got a strong safety, a free safety. Let's just talk about one side, basically. Because on a halfback pass, you really don't have to fool one person, really. So let's start off by how do we throw it? How do we run it? So if we're going to throw the ball, it's a trick play. So a trick play is let's come out. All right, let's come out, stalk, sell the hands, fake it, make it look good, and then we're going to go, okay? So obviously he has to have time to throw the ball. All right, so obviously he has to have time to throw the ball. So these guys, I think it was against West Creek, we sort of unbalanced. We sort of overloaded one side just to give him extra protection to throw the ball. And you can do it out of the spread formation he had. We've done it out of that set many times and other trick plays. But this is one we thought we just unbalanced it, okay? So unbalanced means we've got 5 guys here and both these guys are on, okay? So this guy's ineligible for a pass, so he can only block, okay? So the thing is, sometimes coaches will know that, but players may not know that. Mm-hmm. You may study it, you may coach it up during the week, but the kids still get in the game, they get hot, they get tired, they forget certain things. So this guy's got to go in motion. Okay, so he's going to go in motion. So we're going to hand it off to him. Okay, so we're going to hand it off to him. So he's going to go in motion. We're going to give him the ball. The quarterback's going to give the X the ball. Now, we put the K, which is like a hawk back. It's like an up back, like a fullback type guy. We're just moving the lineman. We're just playing one gap over to the right. He's going to take the edge, and the H, which is our running back, gives extra protection on the edge. So we got 2 guys plus the Y, which would be our tight end. So now we've sort of overloaded one side for protection. Because the first thing is, look, he's going to look like Jet. So when they see Jet, we're thinking maybe they've got a couple linebackers. So them guys, they're coming, right? He's trying to beat the block. He's coming. He's seeing Jet. So they're trying to get to him. So first of all, you have to have a good handoff. You have to start bowing. A lot of times people will bow backwards. The running back, the X, will go backwards just a little bit to create more space to give him time to throw the ball. So these guys are blocking. These guys are trying to hold their block, and the defense is trying to get to him. And then at that point, he pulls up. We sell it, really slow down, sell it, block the guy. And then when you feel that pressure he gets off of, you just release him and then just go and just hopefully, if it looks good, they catch it, you throw it, and you look like $1 million, okay? And if you don't, people say, that's the dumbest play I've ever seen in my life. And that's part of coaching. But that's just one area. There's multiple formations. There's different ways to do things. Obviously, you could also do this, right? You can leak the quarterback back. You would probably read somebody on the backside. Are they man coverage? All right, now he's going to stop. He could throw all the way back to the quarterback, a quarterback throwback play. So all kinds of different trick plays you can come up with. There's lots of them. For me, I love trick plays. That's something in the past few years, that's been my only thing. I wasn't the offensive coordinator, but I would come up during the week, some things that I like to do in that regard. I think the kids like it, okay? I think there's a time for it. I think it slows people down. It makes, this guy right here is thinking what? I've seen Jet 4 times, but now they're throwing it over my head. So now he's got to think, do I play pass more? Do I come up on the run? Those are all things that you make them think about during a play or a trick play. And sometimes even if they don't work, right? If they don't work, you still are making those guys think. So sometimes it isn't always success, but it's part of the play that makes the defense think, hey, man, maybe he threw a bad pass and it was wide open. Now they're thinking, hey, man, gosh darn, I almost got burned. I got to play back more. So sometimes, again, it's not always being successful. You want to score or have a big first down, but it's also making the defense think, put them in a different position, and just try to create a little creativity and try to throw them off a little bit.
Do you guys do a new trick play a week, even if you don't use it, or do you guys usually?
I'll have 5 or 6 in that I'll practice all year long, and then usually a week or two I'll pull 1 or 2 out. Obviously, you don't have time to practice a lot of them, but we'll try to have 1 or 2 off a variation of some of our favorite plays.
Always a great way to end practice is with a trick play. It brings up great excitement and great dynamics as far as your team when they go through that trick play and it hits. Then you can end your practice based off of that or start your conditioning on a high note when you have plays like this that you install every week towards the end of practice.
Well, let me ask you this. So talking about the end of practice, so something I have never learned is when coaches, have you ever heard the thing like one more play? Have you ever heard that? Like one more play, coach. One more play, coach. One more play. Have you ever heard that one?
Are you a defensive coach as well?
I've done it all, right?
Okay, so
it's one more, right? One more. If your defense, one more play. If it's offense, one more play. Okay, so what happens, has this ever happened? So you run a great play. It's at the end of practice at 6 o'clock. You're supposed to end at 6, and you run a great play, and then somebody says what? One more play. And then it takes you 5 to run a good play, and you're thinking to yourself, why didn't I just
that ball drops every time.
Play? Run it again. Does that make sense? Have you ever heard that?
I learned that pretty quick. And my one play is everybody up, and then we break it down.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I do think I think my favorite thing about when we do trick plays is on the sideline you get so many suggestions to run the play at any given moment. It'll be the first play. It's like, hey, we should do jet pass. Like, hey, coach, do you think it's a good time to do jet pass? And you're like, it's halftime. Like, what do you mean? We're gonna go. We're getting.
I think every offensive lineman wants to run the ball too, go out for a little small catch for a touchdown. That's a big one too.
Yeah, I wish we could rename them the running backs, because they all want to be running backs, and they're all like, just give me one shot, give me one chance to show you. And And so, yeah.
We played Mount Juliet a few years ago, and I think there's number 7 in the state, and we beat them in our place like 20-14, 22-14. So the funny thing was I put a trick play in, right? So the coach is on the headset and he's like, hey, coach, now. I'm, no, not now. It's not the time. Coach, can we run? No, not yet. So the funny thing is, the other team ran the exact same play and scored. I'm like, and I'm on the headset. They run our play. They scored. So we get the ball, we're running. Is that coach? I said, now, coach, now. And then we scored on the same play. So it makes us think of we played West Creek last year and they scored, and I'm thinking, man. And then we run the same play against them and scored. So it's funny how that happens sometimes.
Copycat league.
As a coach, I got this one. So, as you young coaches and all the older coaches bringing in young people into the profession, these are things that the veteran coaches must put you through. Number one, if you're a coach, you have to be in the box.
Yes.
You have to be in the box at least 1 year on the headsets. Mm-hmm. So something like, hey coach, run this play. Coach, run this play. And so you're on the sideline doing what?
Taking my headset off.
Yeah, the headset don't work anymore. And you're up there saying, Coach won't listen to me, right? Right? We've all been through that one.
So what are you, I'm feeding off of this, what are your do's and don'ts? You can give me 1 and 1 for a coach in the box, because me personally, number 1, my don't is don't point at one number. Hey, 52's not doing this. He's the one that don't point at, tell me what happened on the play.
Right.
That we weren't successful.
We didn't block
Don't blame
this.
it on it. Tell me.
We didn't trap the right guy.
What are your do's and don'ts for in the box for your coaches?
When I was OC,
just one.
When I was OC, the first thing I wanted is down and distance. And I used to get mad when they would tell me like, hey, coach, the first thing I want is 2nd and 2, 2nd and 12, 3rd and 3. I want that first, and then we'll talk about what you're seeing in the secondary, right? I want to see what you have certain coaches, right? Certain coaches watching the secondary, certain coach watching the linebackers, certain coaches watching the line, and they relay to you through the headset. What are they doing? Hey, they're up front. We're not blocking well. They're beating us up front. How do we adjust to that and make the play better? So I think you have your coaches designed to what do you, because every coordinator is different, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of guys don't want down and distance. Hey, I can see what the down and distance is. But if you're on the sideline, sometimes if the ball's on the far end, it's hard to tell. Is it 3rd and 1? Because to me, 3rd and 1 is different than 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. Though it looks close, what yard line are we on? Hey, are we on the 2? Are we on the 5? It's hard to tell sometimes. So what's a couple do's and don'ts for you, Coach?
I think when you got guys in the box, you got to give them something to watch, because I do think, especially newer coaches, they get caught in watching the game.
They just coach, don't they? They just coach, right?
Yeah. They're watching the game, and so they take like a fan perspective where they're just watching the ball instead of their particular position. So, and we
Which
probably
is
need
very common.
Yeah,
very common.
Yeah,
very common.
I mean, even for I coached for 5-6 years before it was like, all right, I need to do X, Y, Z.
Your job.
Mm-hmm. And
so if you're coaching receivers, coach the receivers and leave the linemen alone, right?
Correct. I would, then give me information on what the corners are doing. If the corners are sneaking up, then like relay that information so then we can pivot to something else. I think giving the guys in the box just something to watch and something to look at, something to record, because I think that does keep you in the game of like, all right, on play 57, this happened. Right. So I do think that helps people you get more engaged. For me, I think like people always ask, like I'll walk like. So if you ever watch a sideline, like a lot of people like the whole sideline follows where the ball's at.
Right.
Well, I usually go the opposite direction. So if like you've ever seen and people
so you can see or something.
Yeah,
see better?
And that's what it is. It's usually I can see better from behind the offense as I'm calling the defense to see like, okay, like we know who the tight end's going to be.
Right.
We know who these players are going to be. So when I see them break the huddle, I can already relay in information of, hey, like this is what we're going to get into based on what you're showing. And it just helps me see the game a little bit easier. But, yeah, giving those guys information in the box plays huge dividends.
Is it really cool to scrimmage and you're the OC and you're standing behind the offense? Is that pretty cool? Is that pretty cool?
No, you know what's real cool?
That cool?
As a defensive coach, here's what gets me about my own people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Is when we get the defensive coordinator behind the defensive safeties, and now I've got 7, 8 coaches
Get
back
natural
there,
picks.
and we're trying to throw people into them. You know what I mean? It's like, guys, get out from behind the ball. And this only really happens in scrimmages or practices where you're trying to run plays and coaches are running out of the picture or jumping out of the way.
That's funny. That's
it makes
good.
for good game film, but in the moment, it doesn't make for very good practice.
All right, so the next one. So number two for the young coaches, all veteran coaches, when they get new kids on the staff, new guys, they've got to put the next one in. So you've been in the headset for a year. You're giving all these suggestions that nobody listens to. You think you're the greatest coach in the world. They don't listen to me. If they just run this play, if they just run the triple reverse halfback pass, we'd win the game. All right, so the next one is every coach has to coach the kickoff team.
Yes.
Okay, you got to coach the kickoff team. Now, why is that so? Because every time you kick the ball off, the main thing the kickoff coach is thinking is, please, Lord Jesus, tackle him. Just tackle him.
That's it.
Just tackle the guy. Because, you've got a huge field. Mm-hmm. You're kicking the ball in space. Okay, and they got athletes, their best athletes are catching it, trying to run back, and you have all this space, all these guys blocking. They've got double crossing, middle wedges, and all this crazy stuff they come up with. And then your guys are just bring them down, right? Yep. You want a nice ball kicked in the end zone. That don't work. Then you're a kicking coach. You say, okay, now, all right, kicker, kick the ball, spot that ball to the right side. So you got your whole coverage lined up to the right side. And where does he kick it, Coach?
He may kick it to the left.
Yeah, maybe that. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, say it's a smooth middle down the field. You kick it right, it goes right down the middle of the field.
And then that was I will jump in real quick. And then we had a really good kicker this year.
Right.
In my opinion, for a high school kicker, we had a really good kid, really good kicker. But it was a funny story. So we ended up playing Whites Creek, and we're up there, and he kicks an onside kick right from the jump. Right. And I was like, we did not call that.
Did you get the ball?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that could have made it worse. So then we got the ball, and we were doing really well against them, and we eventually kind of got up by quite a few scores, and then we come back out, and he kicks it again, and he onside kicks it.
Right.
And we get the onside kick again. And it's a sportsmanship thing at that point,
right?
Where it's like, stop doing that.
You're up a little bit now, right? Okay.
And at this time, the Bermuda is dead, so now it's like a sheet of ice out there. So the ball just slides, and so I think that night when we kicked off, we probably kicked 4 onside kicks, and at the end, I'm apologizing to the head coach. I'm like, I am so sorry. I promise we didn't plan that. It was just that night our kicker kind of had an off night, and he was just like, I'm trying everything to get this ball up and out, and he just
nobody volunteers to be the kickoff coach.
Yeah,
So me and Coach, we're coaching together, and we're playing West Creek, and we just watched the Whites Creek film, and we're working the kickoff return, and Coach says, you know what? They onside kick 4 times. Yeah. So we're now preparing. Well, they onside kick 4 times, so we got to move them up. Yes. We got to put some different people in the game. How you going now? All week it's something different, as opposed to their kicker didn't screw up, kicked it a little deeper, like it was planned. So it's amazing how when those things transpire, how sometimes something that's screwed up can sort of be an advantage in a way. Because the next week the coaches are preparing for something different that they may not see. Yeah. So I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what about does anybody volunteer to be the kickoff coach? I won't be the kickoff coach.
No. Our the rule of thumb over there is that every coach will have a responsibility as far as special teams. Yep. Whether we have a special teams coordinator or not, every coach, there's a coach on punt return, kickoff return, and things onside and things like that. But the purpose of it is not only to improve us as our special teams, which we had a good kick return game the last 2 years with Bobby DeMeyers being a returner. But the most important thing is that gives onus to the coaches.
Right.
Those young coaches that aspire to be coordinators and head coaches during practice, they're the ones in charge. Like, hey, punt, let's go, punt's up.
Yep.
I need to see that coach that's in charge of punt out there, get his guys out there, his personnel, execute it a few times. If you don't like it, slow down, walk it through. If you like it, move on to the next one. Kick return, get another coach out there and see how they handle taking over that specific 11 guys for that reason. And if you don't like it, that's when I interject and, as the head coach, and to make sure everything runs that way, because special teams is important. It's very important. But I think that's one of the first steps and the first opportunities for young coaches to turn around and be able to have the responsibility to coach 11 guys and call what they need to call in that specific sense.
Well, let's change pace a little bit on this one. So we're talking about young coaches need to be the kickoff coach. Let's add one more into that one. So he's got to be in the box with the booth so that nobody listens to him. How about this one? How many of your coaches, they walk up to you and say, Coach, I know you've got some discipline problems in the school. I know Johnny's been in ISS for a few days. We got to run him a little bit. How many of your coaches says, you know what, Coach, I'm going to be the guy that stays after practice and I'll run them for you. I'll be your discipline coach. Coach, I'll stay 15 minutes, 30 minutes. I'll do that. How many coaches sort of volunteer for that job?
Yeah,
you can go ahead.
We usually to eliminate all of that, we'll assign a day. Everybody's coaches they've got a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and then I stay on Fridays, just because that's when a lot of the parents want to have conversations, and either kids are really excited and in the parking lot getting really excited, or they're really upset and they're in the parking lot getting upset. We want to make sure everybody gets home safe, and so. So we eliminate that by just divvying up the days, and we take it for what it is. And
that's new to me. I've never.
It solves a lot of problems, because you're right. You're getting at the door. I mean, people are. I've never seen some of my coaches move this quick.
They move quick, don't they?
But if you're like, hey, today's Monday, it's your day.
How do you operate that, Coach?
Well, it's unique because of this area. I mean, my guys in our coaching staff, I think only 2 coaches are not military guys.
Right.
They're former military guys.
They probably love that stuff, don't they?
Exactly. in different areas, like when I was in Texas or Georgia or Louisiana, it's, hey, that's yours for the whole season, or assigning it a day I've heard once before. But now it's like coaches are like, Coach, let me get it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of things we can do based off of their prior military history and handling soldiers. Now, it ain't cruel and unusual punishment. We take care of our kids now, but that's what it is. And I have a current police officer that comes out, and he helps out as well. And like I said, I got about 8, 9 guys that are former soldiers that are just like, hey, if you need me to take care of the discipline aspect, just let me know. So that's how we selected them, based off of that.
So we've given you 3 things for young coaches. We've talked about some RPOs. Coach made me put up a little trick play, which is a little halfback pass. It could be a jet pass, many variations, what you want to call it. And we've just talked about some things about with the flag football for the girls. So thank you guys for joining in. We'll see you soon.
For current and exclusive content, subscribe to CDE Lightband, connecting you at the speed of light.